Hey, it's Adam, the Zdroik of RotoWire. I'm going to be doing Game Week 14 lineups in the Premier League, going over all 20 teams up at rotowire.com. Here we go. All right, welcome to Game Week 14, another week of Premier League, another weekend. We got a quick turnaround. So we had Champions League. We currently have Europa League, Europa Conference League going on today. I'm actually going to be doing this before then. So maybe there's going to be some injuries. Maybe there's going to be some new updates. Only a couple press conferences going on, but it's a busy schedule. So I had to do it now before all these games take place. Again, rotowire.com/soccer trial to get the cheat sheet that I'm going to be using. We'll be using the FPL cheat sheet. We also got a bunch of other stuff up at the site. We got a betting show coming out later tonight and a betting article. And then, as usual, DFS content as well. There's actually going to be a couple lineups that pop out as I'm talking. So maybe I will check those out just in case, but it's probably not going to change my mind on anything. So the big thing with this weekend is we have midweek matches coming up. Maybe I guess the big thing isn't this weekend. The big thing will be coming up in the midweek matches and then the following weekend. We'll see what kind of rotation happens. Not expecting much this weekend. So that'll be more game week 15. We'll see if I can get a show in for game week 15, but we're talking game week 14. So might as well get into it right now because matches start. You got 3 starting right on Saturday, early Saturday. First one, Burnley against Sheffield United. And it is a matchup of 2 former championship teams, 2 teams battling relegation. Burnley have usually Vincent Company just doesn't really give a ton of injury information, doesn't really mention players. There's not a ton going on. They've had the same lineup, I think, I want to say, for 3 straight matches, so no changes here. Josh Cullen was suspended a few weeks ago, and he's not returned to the starting 11, so we got Sander Berg, Josh Brownhill in there. Jay Rodriguez has found a starting spot next to M. Downey, while Foster is out. Otherwise, that's kind of how it looks. Again, no changes here. Vitinha's been starting at right back. Dara O'Shea's been the other center back next to Jordan Beyer. That's just kind of what they're doing. Sheffield United, maybe a few more changes for them. So I got a couple changes as we look at their lineup. And we have Ahmedovich back in the starting 11. He came off the bench last week. He can't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember whose spot he took. Jaden Bogle's spot. Jaden Bogle was playing on the right wing. So what I have here is George Baldock playing on the right wing. He's the last few matches while Ahmedovich has been out. Baldock has been playing as the right-sided center back. Now I got him back on the right wing, so that moves Ahmedovich back to center back, and then he's next to Jack Robinson and Austin Trusty. And then I also removed Vinicius from the starting 11. He's basically been subbed off early each of the last 2 matches. I think Sheffield United have played better in both matches without him. So I have a few changes in here. So it's going to be Oliver McBurney is back in the starting forward role. He played 45 minutes off the bench last week. He's next to Archer. We still got Gustavo Hammer in there. And then the midfield, instead of Vinicius, we have James McAtee in Vinicius' spot. I just think he gives a little more on the ball, a little more creativity. Well, Vinicius is kind of like the enforcer in the midfield and just really hasn't been enough. It really hasn't been enough for what Sheffield United have wanted to do last couple matches. So it'll be the first time in a while, but I think it's in range that Vinicius gets benched here for Sheffield United. But otherwise, that is what we're looking at. Jaden Bogle benched. In terms of prior matches, Jaden Bogle benched and then Vinicius benched for Sheffield United. Brentford. So the big injury we see here, Matthias Jensen had a minor adductor injury last week. It was a surprise scratch from their starting 11. Is he going to be back? I looked just before the show. There really hasn't been any injury updates, and we're not going to get those until Friday. So there's not a ton to say here. Thomas Frank said he was hopeful that Jensen would be available for this one. So an adductor injury, groin injury, usually better than hamstring injuries. So, give him an extra week to rest, give him an extra week to get back to close to 100%. I think Jensen is definitely in play to get the start here. As usual, they're playing against Luton Town, so this is a 4-3-3 formation. And I got Jeanelt here at left back. So it's been a while since they've had to use a 4-3-3, or since they've used a 4-3-3, because they're coming off games against Arsenal and Liverpool. And basically the last few times, even the last match, out of necessity, Jeanelt played as a left back in the 5-3-2, 5-3-2. But the last two matches in which it was a 4-3-3, Jeanelt has been the left back. So I think he's there. And then we got Pinnock and me because Nathan Collins is out. And then Ajer is playing right back. So the midfield looks like this. Without Jeanelt in the midfield, we got Frank Onyeka has been getting some starts. They used a bunch of different guys. They used Godosh and Saman Godosh and Yarmalayak started in the last match, but I don't think he's going to be getting the start here because of the 4-3-3. And Yeka has been in this role when Jeanelt moves to left back. And then this means Neil Malpe back in the starting 11 with Visha and Bomo on the wings. Yeah, I think that's what we got here. Luton Town. So Issa Kabore missed the first match out of the break because of concussion that he suffered with his national team. So I think he's going to be back in there. Amari Bell played on the wing in that last game. I think that is one thing that's in play if they want to be more defensive. I don't know if they want to be more defensive in this game against Brentford, but if they want to be more defensive, it could be Amari Bell and Issa Kabore playing on the wings here, and then you'd have Osho, Mengi, and Lockyer as the center backs. I moved Mengi out of the starting 11. It could be either Osho or it could be Mengi. I know Mengi got the goal last week, so maybe he stays on, or maybe they just go with the same lineup as last week because they won, because they beat Crystal Palace. But because they get Kabore back, I think that he returns to the 11 here. And then I am moving Mengi out, but it's kind of 50-50 situation on what Edwards actually decides here. And then Nakamba, we're waiting on an update from him. I don't think he's going to be ready to start based off of what I've been reading. So probably we're going to get Pelly Rudock and Ross Barkley in the midfield again. Arsenal playing home against Wolverhampton, coming off a massive 6-0 win on Wednesday. Zinchenko and Tomiyasu both went 45 in that game. So I think they're both, I don't know if I want to say safe, but fairly safe to start in this one. And Trossard didn't come off the bench in that game. So I think there's a slight chance, because of all these games, that we see Trossard in the false nine role, Gabriel Jesus back on the bench. I only say this because he's coming off that hamstring injury. He was out a bunch of time. He played, I think he went 90 with Brazil. Then he started these last two matches for Arsenal. I do think it's in play that we see Leandro Trossard start in the false nine instead of Jesus. So something to keep an eye on there. I'd say maybe 60-40 that Jesus starts. I may even move that down. Just me personally, maybe 55, maybe 50-50 that Jesus even starts here. I think that is in play for what Arteta wants to do here. And then I guess if Trossard doesn't start, we could get Kai Havertz in the starting 11 again. He scored in back-to-back matches. Maybe you reward that. Otherwise, Rice and Odegaard. Odegaard's been healthy again. The other option would be Jorginho, but he has kind of been, since the break, he's been moved out of that starting role a little bit. So that's the main thing to look at for Arsenal is it Jesus is not guaranteed to start. And then if he doesn't start, we probably get Trossard in the false nine. I think no matter what, Trossard is going to start. He did not play in the win against Lens. So that would be the main takeaway here from this for Arsenal. For Wolverhampton, they get Craig Dawson back. So Santi Bueno, who received his debut league start for Wolverhampton in that last match. I expect Craig Dawson's going to be back in there. Aiton O'Ree picked up an injury in that game. I believe it was muscle related, so he's probably not going to be playing here. So pretty much the same group. I don't think Pedro Neto is going to be ready. Not the last thing we saw from him. I think he's still another 1 to 2 weeks away. So Hugo Bueno gets his first start in a long time. Let me click on his profile to see when he actually last started. He had a bit of an injury, then stayed on the bench the last couple matches. So maybe it's not even him that gets in here. He is just one start of the season, but you got to think that he's close to fully fit here. As we see, Matt Doherty subbed on in that last match. So maybe it's Matt Doherty. I don't know. Maybe O'Neill just doesn't like Yeah, maybe O'Neal just doesn't like Hugo Bueno right now. He only has one start this season. So I'd say it's probably 50-50 that's Hugo Bueno starting. And then Matt Doherty would be the other option to start over Aitnery. So that would be the main thing here. Otherwise, I don't see any reason for them to go back to Doyle or anything like that. Doyle who got a recent start. Bellegarde has been playing well, so I think he stays in there with Lamina and Joao Gomez. Nottingham Forest home against Everton. Toffolo has won a job, so congrats to Toffolo. He went 90 last match. He's may even gone 90 for a couple here in a row. Let me just click into that. Back-to-back 90s for Toffolo. Four of his last five starts, he's gone 90. Just something that we didn't really see last season. He's always getting subbed out early. So he's on the left side, Ola Aina on the right side, Serge Aurier on the outside looking in terms of this. Murillo, I'm trying to think. I think he was actually in play to receive a straight red card, but he did not receive a straight red card for stomping on one of Brighton's players, I want to say. So he is still in there. I don't know if he lost his cool a little bit. Maybe he might be moving out of the starting 11. Maybe not. Probably not. Steve Cooper probably doesn't care about that. But Callum Hudson-Odoi came off the bench in that last game for him, so that's going to change some things up. Will it change things up right now in this match? Maybe not. So Danilo was in. Sangari missed that last match. So we'll see how this midfield shakes out. Mangala, Danilo, Dominguez, and Sangare are the options to start. Because Sangare missed the last match, he was not an option for the starting 11. So if that's the case again, we still have Mangala, Danilo, and Dominguez. And then I think when everyone was healthy, that Callum Hudson-Odoi was actually a preferred option to Elanga. I wonder if maybe Steve Cooper goes to a false nine kind of thing. Maybe you're starting Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, and Gibbs White. Maybe something a little different. But I think because Chris Wood has that brace, that I think he's still going to get these starts. He has the experience. You got Origi coming off the bench as well. But I don't think Elanga has been playing well, so I think that's why he's getting the start. I think this is what Cooper sticks with: Elanga, Gibbs White, and Wood. But it's definitely in play that he changes some things. So some of these aren't guaranteed. I would say Chris Woods maybe 70-30. Elanga, because of his form, maybe 75, maybe 80-20 for the start here. But I mean, he's scoring back-to-back games. Why would you drop him to the bench just because Hudson-Odoi is healthy again? So I think Elanga keeps his role for now, but definitely something that could change, especially once we get to short weeks. Everton, it just came out this morning. So apparently Calvert-Lewin's dealing with some muscle fatigue. Obviously, guy that's had a ton of injuries. You don't want to play him through that. So we'll see how it shapes out, tomorrow in training. Beto missed last weekend's game, so maybe he's not even 100%. If neither one of those guys is 100%, maybe we get Danjuma coming back in, kind of thing. I'd say Calvert-Lewin starts in this one, and then he's rested in the midweek game. If this is a little worse than Sean Dyche is leading on, maybe we get Beto to start and Calvert-Lewin starts next week's game on Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever that is. So otherwise, everything is still the same. Onana still dealing with his calf injury, so Idrissa Gueye is in the starting 11. Otherwise, all the same guys. Everyone's been mostly healthy for Everton, so it's been pretty cut and dry with their starting 11. Newcastle, you can't say everything's been cut and dry, but they are limited to so many first-team players that they have. I move Lewis Hall back into this spot at left back. Livermento has started back-to-back matches here. Lewis Hall has only gone 45 in both of his starts. So I think we're going to get Lewis Hall either in this match or the match in the next midweek. So because it's been back-to-back matches, been two pretty big matches, pretty massive match at PSG. I do think Livermento is now the preferred option here. Early on, he was actually benched for Lewis Hall. Maybe not benched, but he was selected. Lewis Hall was selected over Livermento, and then Hall, I think he couldn't play in the match against Chelsea. So Livermento, I think this one's kind of like a 50-50 here for Lewis Hall and Livermento. We got an update on Botman. He is slowly trying to work his way back. I don't actually think he's questionable here. So he's going to be out. We got a bunch of outs, actually. I doubt Willock's going to be available. There's not going to be a ton of guys returning. We'll see what happens with Longstaff. The early report over the international break was that he was going to be out for multiple weeks. And I think it's been 1 week. I guess it's been multiple weeks right now. We'll see what Eddie Howe has to say about it. But I don't think anyone's really coming back. This is kind of what they look like. Isak's back in the starting 11. He came back from his injury, he's getting a bunch of minutes here, kind of out of necessity. You just got to hope that someone like Isak just doesn't suffer some kind of re-injury because he's playing a bunch. But otherwise, this is pretty much the same lineup they've been using because they don't really have anyone else. Lewis Miley, again, in the starting 11. We'll see. We'll see how much time that Miley gets once Longstaff's back, once Willock's back, once some of these other guys are back. Because Miley has played well, so I wonder if he even stole a spot from someone, or at least at a minimum, he deserves more starts going forward, even when players are healthy. So the big question would be Hall and Livramento for Newcastle. Manchester United and Højlund returned in the last match. I think that was Wednesday against Galatasaray. So Højlund, assume he's going to be back in the starting 11 here. Martial, I think he scored in the match against Everton. Maybe Martial starts. I don't think he does because it's a short week, because it's a quick turnaround here for Højlund. Maybe he doesn't get back-to-back starts, but he's a young guy, and I think he should be good to go. Rashford coming off his Champions League suspension. Garnacho, you can't bench him in the form he's in. And then Kobe, Mino, got to figure out how to say that one. Back in the starting 11, I think he came off the bench midweek, and then everything else is pretty normal here. They've before the Galatasaray match, they were having success, but Luke Shaw currently still healthy, starting at left back, and then the question at right back will be Dalot or Wan-Bissaka. But Wan-Bissaka started in the game on Wednesday, so I'm giving the start to Dalot. Liverpool, Alisson is out for a couple weeks, so we got Kelleher in the starting 11. I also got Konate back in the starting 11. Again, we'll see what happens with Liverpool in Thursday's match. Konate, I'd say I'll give him 50-50 because Joe Matip has been playing there. I also want to see what happens in Thursday match in terms of Ryan Gravenberch. I'd say this is another 50-50 spot. I may change this in terms of who's getting minutes on Thursday. If Gravenberch starts and goes 90, I'll probably have Curtis Jones in here. If Curtis Jones goes 90 and Gravenberch gets subbed off before him, Gravenberch should probably start this one. So something to keep an eye on there. I'd say currently before Liverpool play on Thursday, I'll say it's 50-50 Curtis Jones, Ryan Gravenberch. And then we got Luis Diaz moving back in the starting 11 because Diogo Jota is out I think he's out for a little more than a month. So that is the big news for Liverpool. Fulham, they changed some things up in their last game, and then kind of worked a little bit. I mean, they won. They drew a couple, some will say lucky penalties, but so they got Tom Kearney first start of the season, played in kind of a deeper role, played next to Harrison Reed. Now they have João Paulinho back from his suspension. I assume Paulinho is going to be back and he's going to take the place of Reed because I think so. Kearney's the captain. I think Kearney kind of played himself into another start. So, and him being in here kind of allowed Alex Iwobi to play a little more forward. They always had Marco Silva had the question of who he's going to start between Harry Wilson and Bobby Dakota-Verreeve. Maybe he found something with playing Alex Iwobi on the opposite wing of Willian. So that's what I got here. Everyone else is pretty normal here, but Alex Iwobi playing on the wing, Kearney, Paulinho playing those defensive roles. Then Kenny Tete still has not returned to starting 11. Though I do have Tosin Adebayo back. I had him in here before in the last match. It didn't happen. Kelvin Bassey made another mistake where he headed the ball backwards and it led to a goal. Tosin's going to start. If he's ready, Tosin is going to start over Kelvin Bassey. That is going to happen. Is he healthy enough? That is the question. I'll say 60-40 on Adebayo returning the starting 11. Chelsea. So we got Reece James suspended. Mark Cucurella is suspended. Is this yellow cards? Yeah, Cucurella is suspended for yellow cards. So there's going to be changes. Levi Colwill was on the bench, so he's going to be assumed he's going to be back at left back. And then Axel Disasi played at right back earlier this season. Probably going to be there because I don't think Malo Gusto is ready to start. So this is what we got. Colwill at left back, Badiashile again next to Thiago Silva, and then Disasi playing at right back. A very defensive back forward there, you could say. I also moved Caicedo back in the starting 11 for Ugo Chukwu. And then otherwise, the front four is pretty much the same for Chelsea. Brighton, I got Jason Steele back in the starting 11 in net. Again, there's another team that plays Thursday. I don't think they're actually in the early match. Let me see if they have a lineup. I don't think they're in this. Okay, they actually are. So Verbruggen starting today. Igor starting today. João Pedro. Okay, Miedema is back in the starting 11. So that is something interesting. Hinchelwood is also starting on Thursday. Okay. So I might actually move Miedema back in. We'll see how many minutes he gets. Maybe he's not going to be ready to start a couple times in 4 or 5 days. But you got to think that he's healthy. So I'm probably going to move Miedema back in for Buonanotte. So that's what we're going to do here. Miedema looks like he's good to go. And then the other question is the status of Adam Webster. If Adam Webster is not healthy, it's probably going to be Igor and Van Heck as the center backs. Hinchelwood looks like he played well enough. Brighton had a pretty nice win at Nottingham Forest, and Hinchelwood came on for the injured Tariq Lamptey. So just give him another start here. I don't even know how old he is, but new left back here for Brighton. And then Adam Lallana is basically starting all these league matches, going 45 minutes, being subbed at half. So you got to put him in here. João Pedro is also starting on Thursday, so he's an option to come on for Lallana, kind of a thing. So I'll say for now, we'll see what happens in Thursday's match, but probably going to move Miedema back in for Facundo Buonanotte. Ansu Fati started there last week, but he is out 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. And then, of course, we have Lewis Dunk is suspended, I think, for 5 yellow cards. I don't think he was sent off. Okay, yeah, he was sent off. All right, my mistake. That's right. He had that weird thing going on. And then Dahoud is still suspended as well. Bournemouth. So I think Bournemouth maybe found something. They played awesome in their last match. They found something with Justin Kluivert playing in the central role. Maybe he provides a little something else than Philip Billing, which I think is kind of the big thing there. Billing hasn't started the last 2 matches. He had some kind of minor issue before the break. Thought he was healthy. Was on the bench in that last game. But Kluivert, they scored 3 goals, I think, all in the first half, maybe 2 goals in the first half. But Kluivert in that central attacking role, where Billing has kind of been playing, and then Semenyo on the wing, I think they keep it. It's hard to, play a different lineup than the one that you just scored 3 goals away from home. So I think they keep that lineup. The other news is, Adam Smith will be starting because Max Aarons will remain out, but Milos Kerkez is going to be in there starting at left back. I don't think that. I'm just reading this quote. It is a hamstring injury for Kelly. We haven't received an update on that, but I doubt Lloyd Kelly is going to be start. So Kerkez is the one change here for Bournemouth at left back. Aston Villa, I got them back into their usual kind of formation here. This is another team that plays Thursday. We'll see how they line up. We'll see if Zaniolo returns, that kind of thing. But they played, Matty Cash was a little more forward in that last game. I think it's back to normal, where you got Matty Cash at right back, Ezri Konsa at center back. Maybe Unai Emery wants to play Diego Carlos, so that would move Ezri Konsa out to right back. We'll see, but this is kind of what they've been doing. And I guess the one change is, I guess there's 2 changes. So Boubacar Kamara is coming off 5 yellow cards, so he's suspended. So they could move to Den Donker in that defensive midfield role. So that would be the one question. I currently have Tielemans and Douglas Luiz next to each other. And then I got Leon Bailey returning to the starting 11 after he came off the bench for Matty Cash in that last matchup. So those are the changes for Villa. West Ham, as you see, Jared Bowen, we still have listed out. That is because they play Thursday. I actually think, let's get this line. No, he is. Yeah. So Jared Bowen is out Thursday. He'd even travel with the team, but I did read some reports that he is getting closer and could be an option for this game. So currently I have him in there. Maybe we'll get a better update. Maybe we get more of an update of what's going on with his knee. He did have some swelling in it over the national break, did miss the last match. If he doesn't go, Danny Ings could get another start here. Let me just check this lineup. Mubama, my guy Mubama, is actually starting on Thursday. So the fact that Mubama is starting on Thursday, if Bowen isn't ready, I'd say Danny Ings gets another start. I think Mubama's he's going to be getting minutes over Danny Ings in the second half of the season. I'll say it right now. Mubama will be getting more minutes. I think he is going to be I think he's going to just be more of what West Ham need in this group. Big fan of Mubama from what I've seen from him. But otherwise, I didn't change anything else in here. Jared Bowen. So again, if Jared Bowen's out, then it's going to be Danny Ings because Mikel Antonio is also out. And yeah, that's what we're looking at. Souček has continued in this, attacking midfield role where he's just kind of floating high up. Crystal Palace. Okay, we have the news of I actually don't, again, another player I don't think is actually questionable, but we just haven't received a real update, a further update on what's going on with him. So we're gonna have to look into that one, but he's not going to be available for this one. I guess it really hasn't been confirmed yet. So otherwise, so the changes, so Decore's injury was confirmed. So he's definitely going to be out for some time. So that means Will Hughes and Jefferson Lerma are in the defensive midfielder role. Without Eze, we're going to get Olise probably playing in the central role. And then you got Schlupp on the left wing and Jordan Ayew, who didn't start in last week's match coming off the international break. He's going to be back in the starting 11. So Ayew's on that right wing there. So they have a couple injuries, obviously not having Eze in there, but the fact that they get Olise back and he just went, 90 plus minutes is a positive, I guess. It's unfortunate that Eze and Olise can't be healthy at the same time, but they still have pretty much their usual bodies. Will Hughes has been starting all season because of, Lerma and Decore injuries. So I think they'll be fine. Manchester City, this is pretty much the same lineup they had against Liverpool. I did make one change, so I got Vardiol in there. I mentioned Ruben Diaz, who came off at the break, didn't have a great matchup midweek. I think Pep's just going to give Ruben Diaz just a break here, just a break after maybe some tough performances, I'll say. So otherwise, everything else is the same. We got Bernardo Silva back in there, Julian Alvarez back in there, compared to their midweek game against Leipzig. Akanji playing in that role next to Rodri, and then Doku also back in the starting 11. Grealish on the bench with Foden and Doku on the wings, and Tottenham. So we got a new injury to Bentancur. We still have Christian Romero suspended. Basuma is back in the starting 11. So I changed some things up because I don't think they roll out the same. I don't think Postecoglou rolls out the same lineup that he did in the last game, because with Lo Celso and with Brian Heel, I'm not sure what you'd want both of those players in this game against Manchester City. You're not going to have the ball much. You're going to be playing more defensive. So I think you put in one of those defensive midfielders. You add in Højbjerg to play with Basuma instead of Brian Heel. So you're just a little more defensive. We'll see what happens with Pape Sarr. If Pape Sarr is healthy, maybe he is also in there. But I do have Lo Celso in there. Obviously, if it is 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it, Lo Celso is going to be more forward than Basuma, then Højbjerg, then Pape Sarr. So that was the one change I did there. Moved out Brian Heel, moved in Pierre Højbjerg, and then Basuma is also back from his suspension. So, and that removes the injured Bentancur out and Lo Celso. So I still got Lo Celso in there from starting the last match. There we go. That was a lot, but here we go. Game week 14 in the Premier League. Thank you for watching this. Rotowire.com/soccer trial to get this cheat sheet that I've been going over. You can see all the goal odds. Liverpool, biggest favorite of the week with the 2.44 implied goal total. But Haaland still has the best odds to score, -200. Thank you for watching this one. Please give a thumbs up on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Like, subscribe to our channel, all that good stuff. Find us on Twitter as well at Zdroik, at RotoWire Soccer. Thank you for watching this. We'll be back. I think at least I'm going to be back for game week 15. It's going to be a busy Monday, but I'll try and do a show for that one. But thanks for watching this. We'll see everyone in the next few days.